Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, a teacher with the Demon, and joining me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of lsatdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Nate, our email today comes from Jane with the subject of massive underperformance on test day.
Hi, LSAT Demon Daily. I've taken 2 LSATs thus far, and I've been studying consistently for months before each one. I rarely drop below a 175 when taking practice tests, and have even scored a few 180s. However, my real LSAT scores are around 10 points lower than my practice test scores, and I'm not sure what the reason is for this underperformance. I make sure to take 4-section practice tests that simulate test day conditions. I even make sure to take the practice test in the morning, simulating my test day time. After underperforming during my second LSAT, I'm unsure about how to proceed with studying for the next, as it seems the issue has something to do with how I'm approaching the actual test day. I would appreciate any advice, and I'm a big fan of the podcast. Bummer. Not uncommon. What advice do you want to give her?
Yeah, I've got two that I want to start with. The first is less helpful, but more like the truest answer I can give you, which is you did something different on test day than you did in your practice tests.
Yep.
If you're underperforming by 10 points or more, something was different. That's not just random luck. Now that requires a level of interrogation that can be difficult sometimes. So let me offer what might not be as helpful if I'm wrong, but is very common with students who are practicing above a 175. I hear from those students often that they'll get out of their official test and they'll say, wow, that felt fantastic. I think I did so well. I crushed it. I was working on every question. I think I did well on every question. And those students then will be shocked when they get the 10-point underperformance on test day. I think that those students, more so than any other, are the kind who are probably start off doing really well and then are thinking as they're doing the test about how well they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We talk about all sorts of distractions that take your mind away from the question in front of you. The time, what section you're on, whether you're tired, right? The proctor noise in the background, whatever it might be. But students thinking, wow, I'm doing such a good job, is to me is like a pitcher in the middle of a perfect game thinking about how great his last pitch was.
Yeah.
Instead of the fact that Aaron Judge is walking up to the plate and he's got to pitch another pitch.
Yeah. And it, like in baseball, to extend your analogy, when a pitcher does have a no-hitter or a perfect game going, you look in the dugout and nobody will come anywhere close to them because they don't want to like jinx them. They don't want to remind them that they've got a perfect game going. They don't want to do anything that might like rock the boat. It's funny because the irony is that in a normal game, they'd be hamming it up in the dugout and just having a good time. It's like that like perfectionism, it can cause you to then do something different. Because that's what I was going to say here is, you make sure to take 4-section practice tests that simulate the test day conditions, and you take the practice test in the morning to simulate your test day time. But you don't take practice tests to simulate the practice test, right? Yeah. So you're like, by definition, making the official test into this big special thing. I think you're doing too much to try to like exactly perfectly replicate. You can't exactly perfectly replicate. The only thing that you can like exactly perfectly replicate is just sort of an easygoing, like serious, but also calm approach to one question at a time. That's the crazy irony, right? Is that there's so many people who don't do 4-section practice tests. I've never recommended that people do 4-section practice tests. This is you building up 4 sections as something that actually matters. My real advice is, I know plenty of people who have totally killed it and never did a 4-section practice test. I know plenty of people who have totally killed it basically only doing timed sections.
I talked to a student, did 1 practice test in 9 months, got a 178.
Yeah. Or like in my own personal prep, I very rarely did I sit down and do a full test all in one sitting.
Same.
Instead, I just did a section. Section today, review my mistakes. Section tomorrow, review my mistakes. And then on the official day, yeah, you got to sit down and do a bunch of sections in a row. But that's not hard because you're so good at doing the sections. And Jane clearly has the horsepower,
Oh
right? Jane
yeah.
has the talent.
Yes.
But it's just obvious to me from this email that as much as she has tried to simulate the test day and to make sure she's doing everything perfect, she's building the official test up into some big thing. Way, way back in the history of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Okay. So 10 years ago, 500 episodes ago, Ben and I laughed about this one student of mine who he like perfectly orchestrated the few days leading up to his official test. And then on the night of the official test, he couldn't sleep. So he ended up like taking NyQuil at 2 a.m. or something to get
Oh
himself to
no.
sleep. I forget the whole details of it, but it
Sure.
was just like, dude, because you had so perfectly engineered every moment leading up to that official test. And that's what it's related to you're doing something different. By doing everything so meticulously about these practice tests, I feel like that makes the official test different,
Hmm.
right? It's like she's building to this crescendo moment. And and instead it just needs to be, hey, it's just another practice test.
Yeah.
I didn't take my practice tests that seriously, so why am I going to take this that seriously?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, did you have another tip? You said that first one was the
Well,
less helpful one.
the first one was you did something different.
Yeah, okay.
It's not terribly actionable, right? And it's like Jane's probably like, well, yeah, no, duh, right? Like,
Yeah.
of course, I did something different.
Yeah.
It's the most correct answer though, and because when you that they're clearly, and I almost think of it as well. Back to the baseball analogy, and maybe even and kind of your point about the pitcher. The other way I think about it is like when you have like players in batting practice. I mean, they're just swinging.
Yeah.
They're having a great time.
Yeah.
And as if you step up to the plate and you're just thinking about how important this at bat is,
Yeah.
it's by nature just gonna go so much worse. I remember my
Yeah.
test day. Uh, got up, went to the coffee shop, read for fun, hung out. Like my alarm buzzed, so I was like, "Oh, I guess I better get ready." Had proctor issues, couldn't get the test to launch. Call into LSAC. They're like, yeah, sorry, we're gonna have to reschedule you. And I was like, okay, well, when can I reschedule for? And they're like, well, we have one slot left tomorrow at 6 a.m. your time. And I was like, all right, I guess it's tomorrow at 6 a.m. then.
Yeah.
And so I went about my day. I don't remember what I did the rest of that day. Went to bed, got up, took my test.
And Jane would be freaking out because Jane's
right.
like, no, I've been simulating, I've been taking the tests on the exact same time as my official, like, I can't do that. And meanwhile, someone else is, someone who has a more, I don't know if easygoing is the right word. It's just relaxed. It's just calm. To just be more calm about it. Some like Josh just said, all right, fine, like whatever, I'll do it in a rainstorm.
I got an extra day out of a family reunion with the in-laws. I don't mind. Like, so be it. Like, you want to push me 2 days?
Your wife doesn't listen to this podcast.
That's no, she does not.
Nor does mine. I want to point out something else. She says, I'm unsure about how to proceed with studying for the next. Like, you need to decouple. Like, you need to just stop. You're not studying for a particular LSAT. You're just studying the LSAT. You're just working on the LSAT. You're practicing the LSAT. Right? This isn't like final exam at the end of the semester. I'm going to build a study schedule to study toward this exam, and then that's the end. it's not, that's not how this test works. That's not the game you're playing. The game you're playing is law schools only care about your highest score. They know that you've got a big range of possible outcomes on any one test. So they're really only going to consider the highest one because that's what they report to the world. You shouldn't be like targeting an official date. Then now, by definition, that official date, if you got it triple circled in red on your calendar, it's like, okay, well, that's a different day. That doesn't look like your study days. That's a different day. So she also said, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but she said, I've been studying consistently for months before each test, which, well, there shouldn't even be months in between the tests if you're doing it our way. Jane, going forward from here, it looks like you've taken 2 official tests. Going forward from here, I hope you're registered for April because you're definitely ready for April. You've scored a few 180s. Well, okay, then you're ready for April. But what I want you to do is to also commit to June and August. And it's not like take April, look at my results, then figure out what to do next.
Your study schedule's obviously fine.
April's just a practice test for June, and June's just a practice test for August. I definitely would mix it up, Jane. I would not be doing these 4-section practice tests that simulate test conditions. I would not be making sure to do your practice test at the exact same time as your official time. You've done that in the past and it hasn't worked. So we got to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd go back to the Demon basic formula, which is drill one day, thoroughly review your mistakes. One timed section the next day, thoroughly review your mistakes. I don't think Jane needs to put more than an hour a day, 5 or 6 days a week into it. But you do need to, Jane, commit to, okay, I got 3 more shots at this. I know I have great practice scores in my test record. I'm going to take April, June, and August. If I kill April, yeah, I'll cancel June and August. If I kill June, I'll cancel August. But if I don't kill April and I don't kill June, who cares? Because August is still out there on the calendar. And eventually I'm going to get a score that actually represents my ability. But she's missing the swagger.
Yeah, she definitely is.
That's what it really is. She's
really
missing
is.
the swagger. You're taking it so damn seriously. Instead of just being like, okay, I kind of miss the old days, the bad old days when you had to take the LSAT with like 100 other LSAT test takers. Because, I mean, and it was a pain in the ass, y'all. Like,
sure.
It's so much more efficient now to go to one of these professional testing centers. It's a much smoother process now. But back in the bad old days, when you had to sit there for 90 minutes waiting to get checked in for your test and everybody's all stressed out and stuff, you could just look around the room and go, I got this. Like, just compare yourself to everybody else in the room. Is like, look, nobody in here has scored 180s before, but I have.
Yes.
Look how nervous that person is. Look at this dude over here. He brought an entire box of pencils to the test. He thought he might break 75 pencils. He brought a whole box of pencils. And, like that's the kind of attitude that you need to have to really just play the LSAT, right? Just have fun with it and just enjoy it and realize that you're kind of like there to show off.
Yeah. And Jane, like, you are the Aaron Judge of the LSAT.
Exactly.
You are the best that there is right now at the LSAT. So treat it as such. I've been trying this entire time you've been chatting, Nate. I've really been trying to think, like, what is the equivalent in just like everyday life of like what would be the equivalent? And I think I've got it. Jane, if tomorrow someone came to you and said, "Oh, hey, by the way, we had an issue with the record system. You need to go take a driving test really quick. A practical, not the written one that has all the weird specifics. I need you to go take a driving test right now, and then you can have your license." are you gonna stress? Like, you're not gonna stress about that. You're not gonna be like, oh, I didn't simulate the position. Like, you know how to drive. You know, you'd be like, oh, okay, great. Like, what time? That's an inconvenience.
You're forgetting that kids these days don't drive, but yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Jane is someone from a different generation and actually has her driver's license.
I also forget. I grew up in Idaho. If I didn't drive, I wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah, I
There's
was a
no
farm
public
town
transit.
boy too. Yeah.
So, but Jane, like you've done this. There should be no reason to stress. They call you. They go, "Hey, we need you to do this like once in a testing center instead." And you go, "Okay, cool, let's do it."
Oh yeah,
Like,
if they said you need to take it at 2 a.m. with like bombs going off outside, you should be like, all right, fine.
that's
What?
inconvenient.
The questions aren't going to be different. The
No.
questions are going to be the exact same shit I've seen over and over and over. And Jane has put in more work. She's put in more work than 99% of all other LSAT students.
Yeah.
So there's no reason it's a self-own, right? So I think only Jane can answer the question. But Jane, you are, back to Josh's first tip, you are doing something different. And it's not a lack of seriousness or being meticulous enough in your prep. It's actually the opposite of that. You're choking because you're making it into such a big deal. The LSAT is easy, especially the LSAT is easy for you, Jane. So I would cut down on my practicing. I would do a little bit here and there just to stay sharp. I'd plan on taking April, June, and August. Write us back, Jane, when you get your 178 or whatever, because it's, I think the only thing you're missing is just a little bit of swagger. I actually think you've been taking it way too seriously.
And I actually got one last piece of advice for Jane. Apply to be an Ask Button hero if you haven't already.
Oh, yeah.
I think helping other students, like realizing that people have questions, like they're going to ask you questions and you're going to see that problem. You're going to go, oh, that one's easy to me. Let me answer it. Like that is a good way to build swagger. Also having to explain your thinking is one of the best ways to study for the LSAT.
Oh, for sure. You don't actually understand the questions until you've tried to explain them to someone else.
Yeah.
Our Ask Heroes program, it's a great program. It's for Demon students. You have to have timed Demon practice tests in the 170s. You can apply to volunteer to do some responses to people asking questions in the Ask button, under the supervision of our tutors. But
right,
that would be something excellent for Jane to do. Yeah, because with your practice tests, Jane, I mean, you're the type of person that we hire.
Yes.
You just now have to get it done on the real test. But stop taking it so seriously.
I have no doubt that she's capable and going to.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you would like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.